So good evening, everybody. Welcome. And we're going to dive right into it. So we will have some question and answer session after I'm done over here. So get your questions ready. So the question really is, what is a cardiologist talking about dirt and soil and putting his hands in mud and all these things? Well, you know that I like to talk about the microbiome, the human microbiome. And you all have 100 trillion of those bugs inside your gastrointestinal tract, and in your mouth, and under your armpit, and in your nose, and on your eyes, and everywhere else that you want to think about. So the question really is that what's that got to do with the bugs in the ground? Well, one of the problems is, and I know this is going to look very scattered, but one of the problems is that because we've destroyed the bacteria in the soil, we're not getting automatic transmission into us. You see, you've got to understand that every system has to replete itself. So we have bacteria. Where do we get fresh stock from? You get fresh water in a lake. Lake water has to come in. Where do we get our bacteria from? We exchange it with our environment. The environment, the soil. The soil has the greatest number of microbes in it. We've destroyed the soil. How have we destroyed it? Because we put fertilizer into it. When we put fertilizer into it, what are the fertilizers? Nitrogen, potassium, and phosphate. Right? Doc just told us that. Well, where did those chemicals come from? They came from World War II. At the end of World War II, they had all these chemicals left over. They didn't know what to do with it. So they said, let's just take it on the farms and make it into fertilizer. Not realizing that when you take that fertilizer and you put it into the soil, what happens to the bacteria in that soil? They die. Because you're not supposed to have those in there. And that's why we have an impoverished microbiome. That's one reason. Those very chemicals. Take a nice compost or nice fertile soil and just throw these chemicals into it. And the microbial population will die. You will have chemistry, but like Wei says, you will not have biology. You eliminate the biology from the soil, now you just have chemicals. Now you go out there with your little baby and you're playing around on the soil and you get dirty fingers and you come back inside and you're supposed to be eating and sucking your fingers and touching each other and touching your eyes and everything else. And what happens? You don't exchange the bacteria. Now these bacteria that come from the soil are very interesting. There's a whole variety of them. Some of them are spores, and some of them are regular bacteria. Now, when you till the soil, you see, I just put on my thinking cap for all this, and now, when you till the soil, what's wrong with that? You're just turning it up. What you're doing is you're putting air inside there. So a lot of the bacteria are anaerobic bacteria. Got it? Anaerobic. What do anaerobic mean? Majority of them are actually anaerobic. And the ones in your colon, all your colons, all of you, they're anaerobic. That means they die in oxygen. So you till the soil and you've just killed millions and millions of anaerobic bacteria. You see how? Now, how can anaerobic bacteria exist in the soil? Well, they exist in small pockets. So when you look at fertile soil, there's pockets over there that has no oxygen in it whatsoever. Small, small pockets. There's oxygen everywhere else, but those small pockets have anaerobic bacteria. So we're missing out on those bacteria as well. Spores are also not getting into us. We're not exchanging. We're not exchanging with our environment. And of course, not to say that all of you use alcohol and sanitizers, and therefore you are no longer getting that exchange with the environment. Also, we're indoors all the time. Every breath that you take at the ocean gives you millions of bacteria coming into you. Every breath, every droplet has millions of bacteria in it. That's why you feel so good when you go to the beach. You think you're just going to the beach for fun? Huh? Oh, I went to the beach, I had a great time. Well, you didn't know that you just brought back home billions of new bacteria. You've just replenished your stock. You've waded in the water, the magnesium got inside you. You got some vitamin D from the sun. Your whole physiology, you went there one person, you came back a different person. But this interaction, when you go for a trek, you like to go on a hike. Why do you like to go for a hike? What's so good about it? I'll go walking in the forest. So what? Just stay at home. The reason is that when you go on the hike, you come back with new neighbors inside you. Millions of them. You breathe them in. So do it. Because without those bacteria in you and without the variety of bacteria in you, you will be sick. So it's not just the quantity of bacteria. You need a variety of bacteria. How many species do you supposed to have inside you? You're supposed to have about 4,000, 5,000 different species, maybe even more. And I think that our ancestors probably had 20,000 different species of bacteria in their gut. Today, we've destroyed them all. Because I told you about the soil, that's one thing. But then you all know what you'll do, right? I mean, in the evenings we go out there and say, it's happy hour now, and drink alcohol, and you just put hand sanitizer inside you. You've just killed another couple of trillion of them. One shot. Of course, when you take a poop, 1/3 of your bacteria are gone. Hey! So they got to grow back inside there, and I'll tell you about why they're not growing back properly, because you're not feeding them properly. So that's another reason why they're impoverished, because you're just not feeding them properly, plus you poop them all out. 1/3 of them all left with every poop and dump that you took. So this poor gut inside us is really getting gutted out. What else? Use the alcohol I told you about. What else? What else destroys your gut bacteria? And this has been proven over and over and over again. Antibiotics. Every time you take a course of antibiotics, every time, you're killing millions and millions and millions and billions of bacteria in your gut. That is why, this has been shown over and over again, that bacterial species may never recover. Some species come back, some species never come back. People who've had repeated antibiotics have an impoverished microbiome, and the species variety is sometimes down to as little as 200 or 300 or 400 different types of species only. So why do you need a variety? You need a variety because in the gut, the good, the bad, and the ugly all live together. They all take care of each other. One bacteria produces chemicals that takes care of certain species and keeps those guys in check. This variety of bacteria produces different bactericides that kill this particular species and kills certain viruses. And that species kills certain fungi. So they all live in balance. Now, who came up with this balance? And who said what's the right balance? And what is the right balance? Come on, let's do the analysis. Very hard to do the analysis, okay? Because I told you most of them are anaerobes. So the moment you take them out and put them in a petri dish, they're dead. But now we can do DNA analysis. And in a matter of minutes, you can analyze thousands and thousands of species just by looking at their DNA fingerprint. And we have now seen what's going on. We can see that these bacteria are all being destroyed, and the variety is no longer there. And you need that variety. I just told you, you need that variety. Why also do you need that variety? To keep each other in check. And who did the R&D? Nobody answered. Who did the R&D on what population? I need so many billion of this variety. This variety, I only need a couple of thousand. This variety, who made that decision? Who made the decision that there should be 400 trillion viruses in there? Huh? Who made that? Who made the decision that you even need some parasites? Mother Nature is the world's best R&D. Took Mother Nature, 4 billion years or whatever to work it out. And here we come along in our superior intelligence, and we mess with Mother Nature. And then we're wondering why we're getting so sick. So we got rid of cholera, we got rid of all these causes of dysentery and premature death, and stopped getting eaten up by the tigers, and we're surviving all that. But then we're dying of other things. And we're not living long enough. And if we're living long enough, your health span is so poor that look around you. People in their 40s and 50s are already sick. They all have autoimmune disease. They have hypertension, they have prediabetes, they have obesity, they have sleep disorders, they have neurological conditions, they have anxiety, depression. What's going on? It's an imbalance, and part of this imbalance is starting right here in your gut. Brought about as a result of the way we're living. That's why if you see in my notes, I'll say this patient needs an anti-inflammatory diet, he needs an anti-inflammatory lifestyle, and he needs an anti-inflammatory environment. I added the environment in the last few months. You need all of that. So this guy comes along. He's eating all the right things that I'm telling to eat. So his diet is okay. Right? So I say, oh, you need a nice anti-inflammatory lifestyle. Well, what does that really mean? A lifestyle? All right, lifestyle, anti-inflammatory. I don't hurt nobody. No, that's not what. The plastics you're putting inside you. Plastics, guys, stop it. You are all banned from using plastic products as of today. You are banned from drinking water from plastic bottles as of today. Because I've done the research for you. These plastics get into your body, and who's consuming them? Who's consuming them? You? Well, actually, they're getting inside you. 50 to 60% of atherosclerotic plaques taken out during open-heart surgery were analyzed for microplastics. They were present. 50 to 60% of the samples, they're getting into your body. Plastics, you have enough plastics in your body to make a little credit card. Okay? So now what are they doing to your microbiome? Well, remember, I told you there's so many million species. So, they used bacteria to clean up the oil spill, right? That oil spill they had down there in the Gulf somewhere, right? Who cleaned it up? They won't tell you that. Oh, yeah, this company went up and cleaned it up. It was bacteria that cleaned it up. We don't know how to clean up that stuff, but Mother Nature does. Mother Nature has bacteria all the way down in the oceans, darkest places, where all the oil is, right around the shales of oil. There's all bacteria down there. Everything is in balance. So when you're eating those plastics, guess who's eating them? The bacteria. And then the wrong bacteria eat them. The bad guys eat them. And then their population increases. And I told you they all need to be in balance. So when the bad guys go up, what happens to the good guys? They go down. These plastics are upsetting your ecosystem in your gut. Get rid of all these plastics. Anti-inflammatory lifestyle. That means putting stuff inside your gut that doesn't belong in your gut. Plastics on your skin. The average woman has 106 different types of chemicals on her skin by the time she wakes up and goes to work. Are you insane? Are you insane? Because if you are, I have some good shrinks here. Why would you put 106 different chemicals? Because first of all, you take that shampoo, okay? And you put that shampoo in your hair. It smells really nice. How many chemicals? Did you read the bottle? Did you read the bottle? Oh, you just saw the advertisement. I read the advertisement. Too many chemicals in it. And each of those chemicals, your body has to deal with it. They do get absorbed through your skin. Medicines are also absorbed through your skin. You cannot put these unknown chemicals in your body or on your body without knowing what they do. None of them have been tested in human beings for long term. None of them. And you can't even pronounce half the names. And you down there, you can't even spell half the names. And we're making 3,000 new chemicals every year and unleashing it onto the population, not knowing what it's going to do to biology. Human biology, animal biology, marine biology, or microbial biology. So, who's taking responsibility for that? I say we need to go back to common sense. Wash your hands with simple soap. Don't put chemicals on your body that don't need to be on your body, because they will all get absorbed. Phthalates. Phthalates is what makes your creams nice and oily and smooth, and you get this beautiful, my skin feels so good. Those are phthalates. Those are all plastics. Studies have clearly been shown. You take a shower in that, within half an hour, your urine is full of phthalates, the excretion. Now, unfortunately for phthalates, the half-life in the body is short. But some of these other plastics, they stay forever. And you've heard of these forever plastics. They get into your body, your bacteria get affected, and these plastics do another thing. They're estrogen stimulators. Did you know that? They're estrogen stimulators. So these plastics, they play havoc with your hormones. So if you take these plastics, the men, what do they get when they get too much plastics into the body? The testosterone levels drop. Their sperm count goes down by 50%. 50%! As little as 30 years ago. Most of the time, infertility was on the female's part. Now it's 50-50 males and females. You want to get your sperm count up? Get rid of the plastics. Get rid of the estrogen stimulators right now. This has been shown over and over. But you know what? Nobody will take this up. The press will not take it up. The news stations will not air all these things because there's too much pressure on them not to. Because then the other companies will not advertise their products because you're just airing something that could decrease their sales. You're talking about a web of bacteria inside us. We have a web of bad viruses in our society, driven by financial greed. So your education has to come from yourselves. You've got to read the thing yourself. Start reading the right stuff. Start listening to the right stuff and make the changes for yourself, and then you'll see and reap the benefits of all the things that I'm talking about. What else is killing your bacteria inside your gut? Okay? Now, we didn't even talk about this today, but you talk about Roundup and glyphosate and all the different types of ingredients that are associated with glyphosate and what it does to the soil. Why is it so bad for the soil? Because did you know that glyphosate actually had, I think it had a patent as an antibacterial? Am I right, Wei?
Yes.
Thank you. He's the expert on the soil and everything to do with agriculture. I'm not an agriculturist. I'm just a doctor. Spock. Thank you. All hands on deck. So the glyphosate has a patent as an antibiotic. Just think about that. So you're killing the bacteria out there, and then the glyphosate gets into all your food, and in your water, and then kills the bacteria in your gut. It's a double whammy. Why are we doing this? Why are we doing this? Because we're insane. So how does glyphosate actually work in the plants, So I said, this is crazy. I'm a doctor. I got to figure this out. So I did a lot of research. Glyphosate and its associated molecules, they were originally invented as chelating agents. Chelating, that means they pull heavy metals out. So you mix it with something, all the heavy metals come out, and trace elements come out. So it demineralizes things. So that's what it does to your plants. No wonder those plants are impoverished. The plants that have been grown in a glyphosate environment are impoverished. Am I right or am I right?
Absolutely.
You see? Because they have no minerals in them. And what is the biggest deficiency that all of us are having is minerals. We get deficiency of minerals, all of us, because our food has no minerals in them. And then on top of it, we're eating processed foods and certain other types of foods which also chelate and hold on to minerals in our gut that don't get absorbed. So we are all suffering from mineral deficiencies. And minerals are very important for your body's physiology. No wonder our physiology is also impoverished. What else does glyphosate do? Glyphosates, they demineralize. They reduce a lot of chemicals in the plant. Even tryptophan levels are so low. So you eat these plants, they're nutritionally nothing. There's nothing in it. And they're growing fast, but they're useless plants. They have no nutritional value in them. Because all they did is that they grow them with this nitrogen, potassium, and phosphate. So these phytonutrients that we talk about, the phytonutrients, the good thing, this plant is healthy. Who's making a lot of those chemicals? The bacteria. So you got your rootlets, and the rootlets, they got all that sugar that came down from photosynthesis, goes into the rootlets. Most of it actually gets down there. The plant uses a small percentage of it. The rest of it goes into rootlets. For who? Why are you exporting it down there? It's for the bacteria. Now the bacteria come to the rootlet, they consume that sugar. That's what Doc was saying, that what happens is that carbon, which is sugar, all carbon molecules, all sugar molecules are carbon-based life, all the carbon goes down. The carbon dioxide from the air went into the plant and became sugar, and then went to the root, and then went to the bacteria in the soil. The carbon cycle. I can't tell you how important this is. it is mostly because of this that we're having a problem with carbon and nitrogen and a lot of other things as well. It's because of the way we are farming. And we can change, and the oceans too, by the way, because carbon sequestration not only occurs in the soil, it occurs in the oceans. And what are we doing to the oceans? Getting rid of all life forms there too, where we drag these nets in the bottom and we just basically scraping the bottom of the ocean and destroying all the life down there. The carbon sequestration is not happening for that reason as well. So I'm just throwing all this in because I think that we all realize that it's a cycle. Everything's a cycle. There's a carbon cycle. There's a water cycle. Water cycle. Why is our soil not holding on to water? It's partly because the hyphae are not there. The fungus is not there. Because that's what actually holds on to the water. Is that life inside there? The fungus, all the hyphae, the mycorrhizal hyphae, the millions and millions of miles of it in every square foot holds on to water. And that water cycle is also being lost because that is no longer a biology, that's no longer living soil, it's become dirt. You can grow things in dirt, just simple sand. You can do it. Just put lots of potassium, phosphate, and nitrogen, and you can do it. You can grow it. So the problem here is that we have impoverished our plants, and then we eat the impoverished plants, and then we've impoverished our microbiome and our own physiology because we're getting food that is just useless to eat. So are there studies to show that if a plant is grown properly, organically, and in the right environment, are the micronutrients more available to us? They absolutely are. Absolutely. Lots of studies to show that. There's a recent study about meat as well, that if you have corn-fed cows versus grass-fed cows, are the micronutrients different and is the bioavailability difference? And the answer is yes, 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 yes. The quality of your food is very, very different when you're eating that food that was also grown in the right environment. It's going to be much more available to you. So you can tell that other toxins that we're throwing into us that destroys our microbiome is, of course, antibiotics themselves. So I mentioned that already, by the time a poor kid is, 5 years old, he's already had 20 rounds of antibiotics sometimes. That's insanity. First of all, he's lucky if he's going to get a normal delivery, because then he's going to get his maternal microbiome. Because where does this microbiome come from? Because when that kid comes out, comes right out. He's got no bacteria. Well, he has some actually, but very little. So who does he get it from? He gets it from his mom. And the entire microbiome that's inside the birth canal changes completely in the few weeks before delivery. Isn't this just amazing how nature does it? Because the bacteria in the vagina is totally different in a non-pregnant state than a pregnant state, and completely different right before delivery. Because at that moment, Mother Nature puts all the right bacteria there and then bathes that baby in that microbiome. Now, not only that, but the mother has also given the baby the immunity. The immunity, it says that, okay, I've given you this bacteria, but I've also informed your immune cells not to react to these bacteria. How intelligent is that? Isn't that amazing, right? Amazing intelligence that, because you put the bacteria in there. Now, how come the kid is not born and then gets colonized and then gets ulcerative colitis within the first week? How come that doesn't happen? How come? Because there's a handshake. There's a handshake between the bacteria in the gut and you, your immune system. 80% of your immune system is in your gut. 80% of your immune system is in your gut. And there's a symbiotic relationship, there's a handshake between the bacteria and you. And that handshake occurs within the first 3 years of your life. After 3 years, it's very hard to make that handshake. So be careful what you do in the first 3 years of your life. So, after the first 3 years, there's very little flexibility in your microbiome. Your microbiome is totally individual. Yours is totally different from hers, totally different from it. There's some similarities within families, but actually each one has an individual footprint. Everyone's different. There's no identical microbiome in anybody. Families do interchange their microbiome. That is why some people say, well, you know what? Obesity just runs in my family. Well, maybe you all just have the obesogenic microbiome. And those tests have also been done, where they take that microbiome out of that person and put it into a very thin person, and then that person becomes obese as well, and vice versa. They take the lean persons and take out this ones. And those have been done in humans, but also in mice studies, where you can take germ-free mice. Germ-free mice, that means they have no germs in them. Now you can do lots of experiments on them. You can introduce new germs, take out, do all sorts of things. Yes, your microbiome is dynamic. It can be introduced from one person to the other. You take a course of antibiotics today. Go home. Here's a bottle. Start taking it. 7 days. Her microbiome is going to change also. Now go figure that one out for me. Her microbiome is going to change because he took the antibiotic. Because we're exchanging ourselves with our environment and with each other every day. So this is huge. This is so huge that the mind spins when I think about all this stuff. So we got to be careful that we're not inoculating ourselves with the wrong stuff. We're not putting poisons into our gut. Drugs, regular drugs. Who's digesting the drugs? Did you know that 2/3 of the medicines you all are taking are actually metabolized by your bacteria, and then the postbiotics are released into your bloodstream? And that's how they work. That's why medicines don't work on everybody, do they? Otherwise, everyone would respond the same way to that antibiotic, doc, or any particular drug. Let's say I give you a checkpoint inhibitor because you got cancer. This is immunotherapy. Did you know that it works amazing in about 15% of the patients? Cancer's gone. Only works a little bit in the rest. Why? It depends on which microbial species you have in you. Because that particular species metabolizes that checkpoint inhibitor and then produces the right postbiotic, which then knocks out your cancer. Even the very fact that if you take a course of antibiotics and then take a therapy, you're going to have poorer outcomes than had you not taken that antibiotic. Did you know that? So taking an antibiotic changes your response to other medicines. Also, taking an antibiotic, changing your flora, changes your response to viruses. This has been shown over and over also. So let's say that, okay, I have the flu, but I went to my doctor, and my doctor gave me an antibiotic. And now I'm looking at my recovery from the flu. My immune response is going to be attenuated. That means my ability to make an antibody against that flu has just been diminished because my bacteria are not there. So my memory of that virus is going to be attenuated as well because I took a course of antibiotics right when I had a viral illness. So you understand that, wait a second, so what are you trying to tell me? That your immune response, how your body reacts immunologically, is dependent on those bugs? And then says yes. So now I'm going to give you a little bit of science. I don't want to get too deep into the weeds with the science. But the way it is as follows. Your immune system, your entire immune system is linked to your gut bacteria. So how are you going to respond immunologically? The message is transmitted via the bacteria in your gut. And that's the most recent research that I've been doing. Your immune response is dependent on the interaction and crosstalk between your bacteria in your gut and your immune system. Everything filters through your gut bacteria. You got the wrong bacteria, you've just messed up your immune system there as well. The crosstalk that is constantly happening between your immune system and your gut bacteria. Constant crosstalk. How does this happen? This has all been worked out. And of course, I will eventually, in my infinite spare time, make some nice slides and I'll put them up and then you all will be able to watch those. But they'll show you that the dendritic cells, for example, these are special immune cells. They have these fingers that go out into the gut and they're searching out the bacteria and communicating in both directions. And then the dendritic cells themselves communicate with the rest of the other immune system in your body, your T cells and your B cells and your WBCs and everything else, sending out signals. Your immune system in your gut knows constantly who's in the gut, how many of them there are, and there's constant talk amongst themselves. The handshake has already occurred that these guys are good, these guys are good, these guys are all right, and this crosstalk. Your immune system produces immune cells. Those are T regulatory cells, for example, interleukin-10, for example. They instruct the immune system, don't do anything. This is fine. He's a friend. A bad guy comes along, interleukin-6 goes up, and other cytokines get produced because that's a bad guy, because there was no memory, there was no previous handshake. You getting the idea? There was no previous handshake. There was no previous crosstalk that's built up a tolerance. And because there's no tolerance, now you're going to get overreaction. Look around you. Look around you how many kids now look, I went to the school the other day. And the school nurse, said, how's everyone doing? Did anyone need some help around here? She said, I need help myself. I said, why do you need help? You're a nurse. She says, well, just about more than half these kids in this school, they all have these allergies. And look at this list, man. Every child's got this list of allergies. And I got to keep up with all of them. I remember when I went to school, there were no allergies. There was maybe one kid had an allergy somewhere. But today, just about everyone, food allergy, environmental allergies, because the immune system has not had enough regulatory inhibition. Who didn't do the inhibition of the immune system? Who didn't do it? The gut. The gut didn't do it. Why? Because it had an impoverished microbiome. Now, wait a second. Doc, you're joking about all this. Can't be all true. Are there studies to back you up? Yes. Yes, lots of them. Lots of them. And I can't show you each one of these. For example, I'll quote you a simple one that comes to mind right now. So there's Finland and Russia share a border. And on one side of the border, on the Russian side, the kids were very healthy. They hardly had any asthma. They had no respiratory illnesses. But on this side, every Tom, Dick, and Harry had asthma, eczema, and all sorts of allergies and everything else. Share the same environment. Hey, same environment. How come? What's going on? What was the difference? Well, these people are overreacting, these people are not. And genetically also, the Finnish and the Russians across the border, because it's a border town, are very similar. So they finally figured it out. This team went and took a look. The kids that were in the school on the Russian side were allowed to go out and play in the field and get dirty, and they were allowed to just muck around outside and just be kids. Whereas on the Finnish side, they all had hand sanitizers, and they all had to come back and do this and the other, and they all told, you can't touch that, no, don't do this, don't do that, don't do that, from a very young age. So then they said, well, that's just an observation. So then on the Finnish side, what they did is that they created a soil box. They created a soil box. And they encouraged all the kids to go out there and put their hands in the soil and do this. And guess what happened to asthma rates? They plummeted. Go figure. Go figure. There's a doctor in the soil. How did this happen? So these studies are there. But did you hear about it? Did BBC talk about it? Did ABC talk about it? Did ABCDEFG talk about it? Nobody talks about this. Right? Nobody wants to talk about it because there's no money to be made. Got some money to be made? Not for that. All right. let me talk about a few things because I know, oh my goodness, it's already almost 8 o'clock. And I'm sure we're all very hungry. And our bacteria are hungry and want to feed them, right? All these things going on. So, yeah. So if the soil requires certain things, and we were taught today what the soil requires, where's our soil? I am the plant, my microbiome inside there, and this is all my soil inside here. My immune system, my microvilli, that is all my rootlets, and I have a soil here with all these bacteria inside me. It's no different. So we need to make sure that our soil is good. So what do our bacteria want to eat? Doc told us what they're going to eat. What are we going to feed our bacteria over here? What do they want? What do they want? They want fiber. Okay? So the processed foods, all the fiber's out of it. All the refined foods, the fiber's been taken out. Again, for who? Why? So it can have a long shelf life. They didn't take it out for your convenience. They took it out for your inconvenience and your illness. Fiber, put back the fiber. That's all the bacteria want. Now, I say that let's micromanage the bacterial population. Let's increase this one, decrease this one. Let's do what man is supposed to do. We're very intelligent. I can do this. No. Just put a whole bunch of fiber in there. Mother Nature will take care of the rest. Mother Nature will fix the balance of your microbiome. Give it the first requirement. The first requirement is fiber. And that is soluble fiber. And I'm not just talking about insoluble fiber only, but if you want a big poop, then yeah, sure, go ahead. You can eat those insoluble fibers as well, because that's good for nothing. It's just big poop. But if you want to really feed the bacteria, you want soluble fiber. That's why you see all my patients in my practice, I put them all on inulin with FOS, which is fructose oligosaccharide. So why do I do that? So this guy's coming in, he's having chest pain, and you're putting him on fiber? Doc, I got pain here, not a pain there. Why are you giving me fiber? But they don't understand that if I give them the fiber, they're going to get the right microbiome. If they're going to get the right microbiome, nature will take care of it. If they have the right, they're not going to get metabolic endotoxemia. What is metabolic endotoxemia? Now, this is a very serious subject. So that's how a cardiologist got involved in all this mess. What happens is that when you have the wrong bacteria in your gut, you get a condition called dysbiosis. Dysbiosis is just a fancy word that you may have the wrong bacteria, wrong proportions, or too little of them. And as a result of that, you get a leaky gut. And I know that this phrase has been really looked down upon. I never believed there was such a thing, but there is. When the bacteria, they don't get enough fiber, and when the wrong species get there also, they eat your own mucin, your lining, because that's also a polysaccharide. And bacteria like polysaccharide. I just told you they like fiber with fructose oligosaccharide or galactose oligosaccharides. And by the way, talking about saccharides, mother's milk is full of oligosaccharides, which you can't digest, I can't digest, humans can't digest it, but the mother's giving bottlefuls of it to the baby. Mother Nature must be crazy, right? No, because Mother Nature is bringing the food into the baby to attract and keep the population of bacteria healthy. Because you can't just put bacteria in them, you've got to give them food too. So mother's milk, and nothing comes close to mother's milk, is chock full of oligosaccharides, which you cannot digest. Such is the intelligence, because nature is catering. It's a catering business. It's catering for the bacteria. So you all better start catering for your bacteria as well. We need to become better caterers, okay? So I was talking about oligosaccharides, yeah. So if you have the wrong bacteria in your gut, they're going to eat up your own polysaccharides, which is your gut lining. And now the immune system and the sewage canal are separated only by one layer of cells, and you're going to develop inflammation. When you get inflammation, then zonulin comes along, breaks apart the cells, separates them, and you're going to get gaps. The tight junctions are gone. And macromolecules will get in. And when macromolecules from the gut get into your circulation, then you can develop food sensitivities. That's why all those antibodies come back positive. That I can't eat this, I can't eat nuts, I cannot eat this, I cannot eat that. Because those molecules got into your body intact. Without digestion, they got in. Otherwise, how can you be allergic to a nut? I mean, did you put nuts in your blood? No, you ate it, and it's supposed to be fully digested, and then just this amino acids and fiber and other molecules are supposed to be absorbed, not a whole intact nut. Now, there are some true allergies. Gluten is a big one. Okay? Gluten is huge. And why did it become? We've always lived with gluten all our lives, ever since the Egyptians and all that. We've always lived. Why now are we having a problem so much with gluten? Bacteria is bad, but also the type of wheat that we are eating is just so gluten-rich, you know. So you got to look at the different types of flour that you buy, whether it's all-purpose flour, 00 flour, bread flour, regular flour. I mean, they all have different gluten contents in them. And some of them are specifically bred with very high gluten levels. And anything in excess, you are going to have a problem with. So these molecules get down there and they create an inflammatory reaction. The inflammation then gives you the leaky gut. So leaky gut can happen for two reasons. One, bacteria. You either got the wrong kinds or the wrong amount. That's causing a leaky gut. You want to fix your leaky gut? You better fix the bacteria. Number two, you get a leaky gut because right now you may have some food sensitivities. But when you seal the gut, some of or major amount of your food sensitivities will be gone. So I've had patients where they reacted to gluten and I told them, okay, fine, I don't like wheat, I don't like gluten. And in my practice, I forbid those patients who have positive tests to gluten. I said, you cannot eat gluten anymore. That's it. End of story. Now, the other foods that show up on your sensitivity panel, I reintroduce them after about a year. Because you can't tell a patient never to eat broccoli and never to eat spinach and never to eat fish or whatever, right? But those all get better with time. But the two things you need to do, if you have a major allergy to a certain food, you need to avoid that forever. The others will get better, but you got to fix your microbiome. You got to fix your microbiome. These days, patients have this condition, which I'm picking up left, right, and center in the office, called SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. So I asked him, I said, are you having any symptoms after you eat? Oh, yeah, after I eat, I just become 3 months pregnant all of a sudden. Just like that. And it's all gassy and it's real hard. Ah! And then noises inside there, and then I just burp a lot, and sometimes it frankly hurts. So what's happening is that the sugars are getting down into your small intestine, and the bugs are there, and they're consuming those carbs and the sugars, and who's consuming it? The bad guys. Well, you mean there's only bad guys in your small intestine? Yeah, they're supposed to be in the colon, but they took up residence into your small intestine. Your small intestine does have bacteria, a special type of bacteria population. But now you have a wrong population. It's an overgrowth of the wrong guys. They love carbs and sugar. They eat it, you get bloated, you get real gassy. And that is SIBO. Now, when you have SIBO, you're going to get leaky gut much more frequently. Because SIBO does just that. So, look, after you eat, you're supposed to be happy. But if you eat, and half an hour later, it's like, I just have to go on the couch and take a little break, lie down. I got mental fog. I can't think no more. My stomach is bloaty. I'm gassy. Don't come near me. You know, if that is happening, you have a problem. And take care of it. Otherwise, you are going to get a leaky gut, and leaky gut causes inflammation. So what gets across that gives you all this? These are chemicals, postbiotics that those bacteria make. They get into your bloodstream. And what do they do in your bloodstream? They go to your liver, and they cause you to have a fatty liver. So if you got a fatty liver, don't just think, oh yeah, doc told me I got a little bit of a fatty liver. That's pathology. That is bad pathology. Get rid of it. You get fat liver either because you got too much insulin and glucose in your body, or you have a leaky gut. Or you're drinking alcohol and you're not telling anybody that you're an alcoholic. That's why you got a fatty liver. 3 things. That's it. No ifs and buts. Got it? One of these 3 things. So it causes that. Now, when your liver gets fatty, don't just think it's fatty. It's inflamed. The Kupffer cells in it, the counts are like 1,000 times higher. The liver starts making interleukin-6. All sorts of inflammatory molecules come from the liver. Next, the lipopolysaccharides, LPS. What is LPS? LPS are bacterial wall products. Dead bacteria, the walls. They get through the gap junctions and into your bloodstream. So you're not getting septicemia, but your poor immune system sees these bacterial products come across. It thinks it's the bacteria. See what I'm saying? And it mounts an immune response against it. And these pieces, I can talk about this for an hour, but these pieces, they can actually cross your blood-brain barrier. And then you're worried, I'm so anxious. I never used to be this anxious before. I mean, I've got such a short fuse now. My memory is so bad. It's because your brain is inflamed now. Look, it's no new news now. Depression is inflammation of the brain. That's it. Because you're not naturally supposed to be depressed. I mean, I don't walk around and see all the animals are depressed. They don't have psychiatric units for the hyenas. Something wrong with us. So there you go. So these molecules get into the brain. They cause inflammation in the brain. They get into your coronary arteries. So the foam cells have bad LDL in it, which is small, dense LDL. What is small, dense LDL? You all have LDLs. I have LDLs. My LDL is really high. It's almost 190. But it's all made up of large, fluffy LDL. And my coronary calcium is 0. So how bad is my LDL? It's not. But if you have small, dense LDL created through inflammation, because what happens, the LDL molecule becomes a little bit smaller because it has to unload a cholesterol moiety and take up the LPS. Or it takes up the omega-6, which is the fatty acid, and replaces the fatty acid inside your LDL. And now that gets oxidized. You get lipid peroxidation. So now you're getting small, dense LDL. Advanced glycation end products. You're eating fried foods every day, overcooked foods, foods that are browned, blackened. Every day you're eating these things. You overwhelm your system. These things get taken up by the LDL. They become small, dense particles. And then the big one is lipopolysaccharides, the bacterial wall products. They get attached to that LDL and create small, dense LDL particles. These small, dense LDL particles then get oxidized. Because ultimately, how come atherosclerosis doesn't occur in the veins, Doc? Because they need to be oxidized. And they get oxidized in the lung, and they come out, and the first place they're going to go to is the left atrium. And if you're unlucky, you'll get atrial fibrillation. And then the first major branch out of the heart is the coronary arteries, and goes right down those coronary arteries. And of course, the LPS also knocks out your glycocalyx, which is the protective lining of all your arteries, because it's oxidized moiety. So this oxidation reduction is all, the whole body's physiology, more and more I'm learning, is about redox potentials, oxidation. Oxidation means you're adding oxygen or you're removing electrons. And this is what's causing the damage to your lining. The lipopolysaccharides that are oxidized damage your lining of your arteries. And it's not just the artery lining. They also damage your glycocalyx in your joints and in your brain. This shared chemistry. This is horrible. You're not supposed to get inflammation. You're not supposed to have chronic inflammation. Inflammation means your body's reacting to something. Something. It's either going to be one of these toxins I talked about, or it's this coming from the gut. So take care of your gut. Then we'll stop this huge information. The problem is that when you go to the doctor, no one's going to ask you what your poop looks like, or how many days goes by before you have a bowel movement, or do you eat and you get lots of bowel movements every day, and what color is it? Does it smell bad? The consistency, do you get bloated? Do you get gassy? Did you feel really sleepy afterwards? Tell me all about which foods you can eat, which ones you can't eat. Carbs seem to be the biggest problem. Oh, okay, I became a carnivore for 2 months. I felt absolutely amazing. No one's going to ask you these things. And then the tests that you want to really do to evaluate this is also unfortunately not covered by most insurances. So it's a little expensive, but I do a lot of these tests. But anyway, I got a little bit ahead of myself. You can see that this really means a lot to me, because as a cardiologist, I saw a patient just the other day. Came to me. He actually came all the way from Atlanta. Now this guy, he was found to have coronary calcium score of around 500. So about 3 years ago, he changed his diet, thought he was doing absolutely great, and his score went up to 750. And then, just now, he says, for the last 2 years, I became a vegan, and his score went up to 1,200. So he's like, Doc, I'm doing everything right. And I said, who defined right? And turned out that this guy was fine. He didn't have any of the risk factors, but his gut was messed up. First of all, he was a transplant. He came from another country. So when you come to this country, you think you just came to this country, that's it? Huh? You translocated and you brought with you 100 trillion bacteria. And they're interacting with all the bacteria in all the people here and in our environment here. You don't think you're going to get disbalanced? There's a war going on in there. This whole system is so well developed that when you come out of your cave and then you go hunt 15 miles away, your body knows that you are 15 miles away and there's a different microbiome and you actually change. That sensory system that determines that I have actually moved my location. How did my body know I moved from this location to that location? You didn't have a GPS. How did the body know that I moved from one place to the other? Your body knew because its chemistry changed, and the biggest sensor was your microbiome. It's amazing stuff. So anyway, this guy, his microbiome was totally messed up. So basically, I made huge changes to his diet and told him how he can improve his microbiome by doing biophilia. All of you need to do biophilia. What is biophilia? Go and exchange bacteria for free, get outside. Hey, does it make a difference if you ate your dinner outside versus eating your dinner indoors in your kitchen? It makes a huge difference. Because the bacteria are already going to be there outside. You're inhaling them, but they're sitting on your food as well, and then you're eating it. Your bacteria in your house is totally different. This makes that's why a picnic is what's so good about a picnic? I'm a civilized guy, and you're telling me to go and eat on the grass outside? I'm a sophisticated man. I'm going to the moon soon. No, it makes all the difference. That's why you like going on a picnic. That's why you feel so good after you come back from a picnic as well. Look, you make sauerkraut, you brought the cabbage, and you just shook it out, and then you washed it, and then you shook it out. And you didn't add any bacteria to it. You took it, and you put brine in it, and you made sauerkraut. Where did the bacteria come from? Now there's millions and trillions of bacteria in it. Where did it come from? Where did it come from? They're already in it. They're already stuck to the walls. And some were spores and some were not spores, but they're all stuck in it. Nature makes everything with its own built-in microbiome. You buy an apple, all that little white thing on the side there, don't think it's all wax. Some of it is its own microbiome because it has to package it so that it will decay one day. And the nature, what it wants it to decay with, it's put that very organism there. It's not the same organism as the one that'll be on a peach. A peach has its own microbiome, special one, because a peach is not an apple or an orange. So what I'm saying is that nature packages all these things specifically for its needs. The bacterial populations are very individual. It's amazing. That is why I'm saying that you have to eat variety. Today, man eats 15 types of foods. That's it. You're supposed to be eating 900 different types of foods a year. So go home, eat a little bit of this, that. Go to the Indian restaurant. Go to the Vietnamese restaurant. Go and eat something different. Eat different types of. Go and buy some different roots. Try different things. You got to try different things, because that's how you're going to introduce different varieties of bacteria into your body, but also different fibers into your body, different phytonutrients. But no, we have to be monotonous, eating the same stuff day in and day out. Put spices on just about everything. Go buy all the different dry spices. Just put a little bit. Who said it has to be like that? Just add it. Variety, just different varieties of prebiotics, the fibers, prebiotics. So I encourage you all to go home and find different things and just spice it up and just make it. There's no right and wrong. But variety, you need variety. Don't be monotonous. Yeah? So I'm already told that it's time up because we only have... You want to go on for an hour? Because I haven't covered some of the notes I was making while I was sitting over there. But I'm going to have to go, and we'll save it up for another day, okay? So we have a microphone at the back for anyone that has a burning question for Captain James T. Kirk of the USS Enterprise. But I really appreciate you all coming out tonight. It really means a lot to us. And I want to thank Bree for organizing this whole thing. I also want to thank Charlene. Where's Charlene? She's outside doing stuff. Charlene is also with Aristotle. You all know that I started a new company called Aristotle Education. It's education. That's what this is about. So this is the logo for it. It's Aristotle Education. Of course, I'm with Cardiovascular Interventions also. But Bree has been instrumental in making all this happen. We're going to have more of these. We're really going to have lots of these. So we really look forward to it. And all of you stay in touch. And Galen Foundation, I'd like to thank Galen Foundation for sponsoring this event financially, because it's something that we do need. And you're all watching my YouTubes as well. So those are great. We'll make more and more of them. Sometimes I get too tied up for a couple of months just with work, and then I can't make too many videos. But we'll do better this year. Okay. Yeah, it is true. The question was, do our gut bacteria make B vitamins? They do make B vitamins. The bacteria are the most amazing creatures in the world. They make anything and everything. Your entire pharmacopoeia is right there. Not only that, I'm going to tell you something else. Almost 50 to 60% of all your metabolites that are floating around in your body, right now, all the chemicals that are floating around, making you and animating you to be who you are, is not what you made, is not what your genes made, it's not what you digested itself either, it's what your microbiome made and pooped out and then got absorbed into your bloodstream. So your moment-to-moment physiology is dependent on their byproducts. And that's how important this is. So the field of psychobiotics is exploding, where we're trying to identify strains of bacteria that when you take those and populate yourself with those, then perhaps they will produce postbiotics that will help you to increase your good hormones in your brain, your melatonin levels or your serotonin levels, and feel better and be happier. So there's stress in life, but you can handle that stress better. So that's psychobiotics coming out. But there are lots of other, we're trying to identify specific strains that do specific things. We have not reached that point yet. fast forward, 50 years, and maybe we go to that star on the right, we may be able to take your poop sample and may be able to manipulate it to the exact science. Right now, we're not. Right now, we leave it to Mother Nature. Occasionally, I'll give you a probiotic. I'll give you some keystone species, the major ones that I think are important if they're missing, because they take care of the rest. But you got to do the rest. How? Fiber, variety. Then nature will take care of the rest. So we haven't quite reached that point. So your micronutrients, yes, the answer is truly yes. Now I want to just leave you with one more thought on this aspect. That how many genes do you have? How many genes do you have? You're a human being, right? All of you are humans here, right? How many genes do you have? 23,000 genes, right? Only 23,000 genes. Do you know the fruit fly has more genes than you? Huh? Did you know that? Do you know a banana has almost as many genes as you have? Then how come you are you and a banana is a banana? The difference is your physiology, you outsourced a lot of your physiology to your microbiome. So how many genes are there in your microbiome? If you count all those genes, each bacteria has its own genome. It's almost 4 million genes. That's why I can be a vegetarian today, I'm fine. Tomorrow, I'm a carnivore, I'm fine. I don't eat. I fast because Dr. J tells me to fast. I'm fine. See? And then I go to the Chinese restaurant and eat something there, and I'm fine. And then I ate some plastics, and I'm still fine. And I put some emulsifiers in me and some red dye in me and all these things. I'm still fine. Who? Because my microbiome, I've outsourced a lot of my physiology to my microbiome. So a lot of your biology is your microbiome. And as I said, anything happens, first notification goes to the gut bacteria, they cross-talk with your immune system, and then you get the final result.
And we only have time for probably one more question.
Let's talk bread. So I watched your video, bread should be bread. Einkorn flour, are you familiar with einkorn flour? Okay, so I make sourdough with einkorn. It's just whole grain, the salt and the water. Is that bad? Is that not bad?
Einkorn is an ancient grain, and it's fine. It's very low in gluten. You can use it and make it at home with only a couple of ingredients. That's it. Nothing else. Yes, you're fine with that, and no problem with that. Sourdough bread, for most people, is also okay because the fermentation process. And listen, I'm going to give you guys a talk on fermentation. I didn't mention fermentation today, even though it's got everything to do with bugs. But that's a 1-hour lecture I have to give you. Why is fermentation so important? What's actually happening in fermentation and all that. So I will talk to you about fermentation. So sourdough bread is partly fermented. Fermentation, the digestion is already occurring outside your body. And then you finish it off inside. See, you outsource the digestion. That's why sourdough bread is healthier, because it's already partially digested. It's fermented. Any fermented food is fantastic for you. But remember that if you go to any of these stores and just buy ordinary sauerkraut, it's going to be sterile. Why? Because they pasteurize it. So that's why I'm telling you to make your own sauerkraut. So it'll have full of bacteria, so you're getting the postbiotics. You're still going to get postbiotics from the regular commercial stuff, but you're not going to get the live bacteria. Do you see what I'm saying? You're still going to get the postbiotics. So the postbiotics are still fine in sauerkraut. You want the live bacteria and you want the postbiotics as well. Sir?
I talked to Mr. Nelson during the break, and all of us, some of us older people aren't going to be around forever. And I was very disappointed to hear when I heard about the new changes with Mr. Kennedy and the exploration of what red dye and all these other things are doing. I think that what you've done here you are true clinical research, the two of you. I think this should be put on DVDs and sent to as many people, and using maybe a politician like Governor DeSantis to make sure that that this gets put in front of, because the lobbyists for the food industry are gonna may listen to Governor DeSantis, but they're not. But all this research is so critical when our environment is being depleted so fast, and we have so many diseases increasing so much with little children and other things like that.
I wholeheartedly agree with you. The ears, unfortunately, for most of these politicians, are only that of lobbyists. And all of you can help for that, because you need to tell them that, listen, you need to be listening to the experts. You need to be listening to the scientists. You need to be listening to the science of everything. This is what we need to do. This is how we're going to save the generation. Otherwise, you tell them we are blindfoldedly walking into human extinction. I'll say that one more time. This is serious stuff. We are blindfoldedly walking into human extinction. Already, most couples have to have medical interventions in order to have babies. What's wrong with that? This is terrible. Because of what we've done to our lifestyle, this industrialized lifestyle that we've done, what we've done to our environment, we moved away from Mother Nature, and we are becoming so sick. And our ability to do one of the most basic things in life, which is to reproduce, is now compromised. This is very far-reaching consequences. Now, if you want to put monetary, yeah, how many days of work, sick people, all this. Children's brains don't work properly unless they are fed right and they have the right environment, and yeah, you can put more computers on the desk, but that's not going to produce a genius. What will produce a genius is when that brain is, I'm going to leave you with a little thought. This is a horrible thought, but I'm just going to have to tell you this. So, if you take mice, and they are germ-free mice, and then you follow those germ-free mice for, according to their span, it's only a few months, so they become teenagers pretty fast. And, they're dysfunctional, they can't learn skills, they don't know how to get around a maze properly, they are antisocial. Then you put the bacteria in, the normal bacteria, and those mice, they develop normally. Isn't this amazing? That they develop normally. So what's happening is your mental brain development is also dependent on your microbiome. Then they did another experiment. They said, okay, well then, let's put the bacteria back after the equivalent of 3 years of age, which in mice is only a few months. It didn't work. Now that should scare the heck out of you. Because that means that if you don't have a variety of bacteria in your gut at that age, your pruning of your brain and the connections in your brain are not right, so that it's very hard to fix that later on in life. And when those connections are not made properly, you get the phenotype of learning disabilities, ADHD, and behavior disorders. It's very mind-boggling. The studies are there. Nobody wants to know about it, but the studies are there. So we have to be very careful what we're doing, especially with our young ones, if we want them to excel and grow up as intelligent, the most intelligent carbon-based bodies in the universe. Thank you. Thank you.